Okay, so yes, I'm Sharyn Lewis. I'm the manager at the Gawler Community House. It's been very interesting going through the history of the community house and where it actually started, from where it started to where it is now. Unfortunately, there's not, obviously back when it started, technology isn't the same now as what it was back then, so it's hard to go through things and find out what exactly is happening. However, this is the house we started in back in 1980, and it was a little brown house on the corner of Reed Street. What was that? And Jacob Street, was it? Next to Foodland. I actually didn't have Jacob Street written on here, I've just got Reed Street. I think I had it there, but you can't really read that. When they originally started way back then, it was more of a drop-in and predominantly for homelessness, and they originally started the op shop there very tiny in a room. But I think it was around 2005, they decided they grew out of that space and was offered this lovely building, which was in an old Etzer building. When they took this building over, it was still very much the Etzer building. Very old, very run down, and they had to make it their own. So they actually used the back shed, which is where they used to store all their trucks and vehicles and stuff. They used that for the storage of all the donations. The courses then continued to grow. Obviously more people, more donations, it grew bigger and bigger, and then that wasn't supposed to be there. And of course then the community house had to grow as well. In 2011, the situation became quite grave, and I should go back. The Gawler Community House is run by a board of management, and the board of management, the people that were in charge at the time, the board of management chose to have to take over. It was either that or the Gawler Community House would actually have gone under if they didn't take drastic changes. And the board then took on the leadership roles of running and restructuring the whole look of the community house. And this is pretty much the time when we saw everything make big change. This is the wonderful shed that they were storing all the donations in. That's actually the wrong spot. Due to their restructure, the board took over for many months trying to get everything under control, and then they decided to make 2 new positions at that stage, and that became the volunteer coordinator and the house coordinator. And these 2 pretty much started the whole role with the board of management at the time to do the whole new change of how things looked. With the help of these 2 lovely coordinators, they introduced a lot of new programs. One of them being they did the recycled computers, which was a program introduced for people to come in and help participate in upcycling computers and then putting them back out into the community for people that needed them. They were also the head of running a charitable campaign to get solar panels put on the shed to help with the electricity bills. So with the Carina Fund and the Citizens Renewable Program, they managed to raise, and with the help of over 1,000 people, they managed to raise $20,000 to assist with the solar panels, which still obviously today is a great asset to the house. then and this was something that I learned, with that, apparently they provide the electric power to fund the lights in the parklands as well. So, sorry?
They're already paying for
They were, but they still are?
that. As far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the support for that and the money and donation for that came from all across Australia. That's part of the program that they run, which I thought was pretty fascinating. And they also actually do it for a number. It's a community organisation run, but yes, it's made a dramatic change to the way, obviously power costs and so on. Also, with the help, they incorporated obviously, we've got two of our volunteers there. Sue is actually still a volunteer at the community house. They had to redo the shed quite a bit, apparently, and it was all redone by volunteers, wasn't it, Di? No paid, all volunteers, board members, everything, all got in, pitched in, and done whatever they could to turn the shed then into the op shop. Because then they started outgrowing their little shop that they had in the shop front. And then it started growing. Unfortunately, what happened was we used to get a lot of thieving. People would jump the fence, get into the shed, and steal things, which is kind of really ironic. So unfortunately, the house then had to put up all the fencing around, and then they decided to put in the shade cloth to try to close it up and help minimise dust and everything else. In my time, unfortunately, that didn't stop the thieves either. And here we go, there's our solar panels going up. Then the garden project started. So they got a garden committee together. Diane was part of that, and started. It was a grant. They applied for a grant to get all these wicker beds put in, and then they had training days to have people come in and teach them how to make the wicker beds. And the whole idea of that is to have the process of not having to water, like if there's self-watering beds, to make it a lot more easier. And that's how the garden project started, and that's how it didn't end. They just kept growing. That's now how it's ended. So they're all still in place, but we just obviously have a lot more there. 2015 is when the board decided that they needed more help, and they employed myself and Karen. So we then outreached to the Freeling Hub. The government had identified that there was a need in the area, and they approached the community house to say, hey, let's set up an outreach, and it ended up being in Freeling, and Karen was employed, and we started servicing the Freeling community, which was kind of interesting because it's not within the Gawler Council. So it made it a little bit tricky at times. However, it definitely served purpose. This was Karen having to go out and start setting up and establishing the hub and the official opening. Again, this was in 2015. I was then employed, beautiful photo, very attractive. I was then employed as the administration officer for 4 hours, 4 days a week it was, I started. And interestingly enough, when I started, there was not really one computer wouldn't talk to the other computer. It was really interesting to step into an office. It had grown amazingly, but there was still so much work to be done. It was definitely fun and a challenge that was really, really rewarding. And then obviously the place just kept growing. We have over 60, I think the actual count is 58 volunteers and 2 paid staff. We unfortunately the Freeling Hub then had to stop because the numbers, people just weren't reaching out, unfortunately. It was not successful, and as with the board, we decided that it would be best just to stop the funding and close doors and let that money go somewhere else where it's really needed. And then that way we could focus more on the house itself. When I started, this is what the house looked like. So this was all still set up exactly the same way as when the ETSA guys were still there. This is the outdoor area where every month there was a community lunch. So even in winter, people would still come and sit out there with their little rugs, and in the heat of summer too, which was really interesting. And the foyer, again, this is how it was with ETSA had it. Unfortunately, in 2017, we had an air conditioning guy come in to service our air conditioners, and he got up into the roof, and he wasn't up there very long, and he come straight down and said, "I'm sorry, I can't do that." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, what's happened?" And he said the beams were not very sturdy and he didn't really trust them. So I said, "It's funny you say that, because I have gone and leant on this wall and felt like it's moved." So he come over and this is an electrician, the poor guy. He come over and had a feel. He went, "No, that's actually not right. You better call a builder." So we had a builder come pretty quickly, and as quick as he got up there, he got down and he shut us down immediately because the building was deemed very unsafe. And then we endured really tough times. We then had to rip down pretty much everything externally in the building, and this is why when people come in they go, "Wow, it looks different." After they started explaining the detail of it, we sat as a board and with the board and said, "Well, if we're going to have to pull everything down and start again, we should rebuild properly and to our advantage. So let's make the rooms different and give us more rooms and more space to be able to service our community better." So we had a lot of meetings to and fro with the council because it is still a council-owned building. We lease the building through Peppercorn, so we don't essentially pay rent for it, but our job is to maintain it and upkeep and so forth. So with a lot of meetings with the council and the board and architects and builders, we came up with a plan that we believed was best. Some may still argue whether it was right or wrong. I still look at it and go, "Oh, probably we should have done this different," or hindsight's a wonderful thing. So yeah, we pretty much had to demolish everything. I kind of missed, just before this, there was a community, neighbourhood funding that had started, and it was the community could vote for what they wanted most to be changed, and we were very fortunate enough to actually win that grant. So we won.
25?
Sorry?
25?
Was it 25? I feel like it was more. I think, yeah, I feel like it was 50.
Oh, you might be right, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was 50,000 we won. So that was prior to this. It was actually just before we found this damage. So we're like, "This is fantastic. We're going to upgrade our kitchen and enclose the outdoor area to make that amazing." And we just started all the planning with that, and this happened. So it was absolute bedlam because we were then had 2 projects to take on. But it all came together through a lot of blood, sweat and tears. It was an absolute interesting time. The builders were amazing, and it didn't actually take as long as I thought. We managed to, the shop front where we used to have our shop, we moved everything out into the shed, and we've done a temporary office in the shop front, which I think took us about 2 days. I don't know, it was very quick to get everything up and running, but we managed to run out of there until the builders could finish in the new area. I believe from memory we only shut our doors for about 4 days, or for a week it was. We had a week to move everything from the shop to the shed, all our admin out into the new shop area, and then open the doors back up on Monday. So we tried our very best to have minimal interruptions. So this is where the outdoor area was. Pretty self-sufficient, and then it all came together. So this is actually now the outdoor area, fully enclosed. We call this our function room, so we can either use it for hiring out. We now have a cafe in there. We continued our community lunches in there. Unfortunately, like everything, when COVID hit, things had to really change. Obviously, like most places, we closed our doors for quite some time. When we came back, we couldn't continue the community lunches. It was a shame because we used to get around 40 people. It was last Friday of every month, and we'd get about 40 people. Sometimes we'd have to turn people away. And because of that, because of the COVID interruption, once we started to finally introduce that back, we weren't really seeing the numbers, and I don't know whether it was because people still fear COVID or you don't really know, but the numbers really dwindled, so we were like, right, what else can we do? So we then decided to turn this area into a cafe. We had a lovely new kitchen that we could use, and so now we have a cafe open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of every week, instead of just offering that lunch once a Friday. So giving people more opportunity to come in and get low-cost meals. This is our new admin area and our wonderful new kitchen. So then, of course, we could make bigger rooms as well, so for classes and meetings and so on. All our rooms are much more functional than what they were before. We then were part of another project where we won a grant to help pretty up the front of the house, and this is what we ended up with. And I still drive into work every day and look at it and think, wow, this looks great. The whole purpose of this was to make it look more welcoming and to encourage people to know that this is a fun, safe place to be. We incorporated trees and veggies out the front. So the trees, they're just citrus trees, so anybody can come along and pick the fruit as they like. And then down a bit further, there is those pots there have all got veggies and herbs, and that's what we call street eats. So anybody can come and just help themselves whenever. Had a few people comment saying, oh, that's not going to last. People are going to come and ruin all your veggies or pick them out or do whatever. I've actually had no problems at all. People literally come and pick off what they want. We've actually had people come and plant more veggies in there. So it's really, really cool little aspect for our community. We then were approached in the middle of COVID lockdown by the department. Women's Information Services were looking for a place to locate themselves in an area that was clearly needed. Approached us and said, hey, let's work together and create this safe space. So that's how the Haven came about. And what that is, it's a safe space for women to go that are, for any reason, they may be suffering domestic violence, homelessness, they might just be lonely, they might want somewhere to go for a chat, and that's what the Haven's all about. At the moment it's run solely by volunteers. However, we are currently in the process of getting the process of having a new position, a paid position in the Haven with the Gawler Community House and the department, so they can help manage that site as well. We now have a new volunteer coordinator. Her name is Terry. She's been on board now for almost 2 years, and they're still stuck with me. Our board of management, we have Michael as our chair, Cody Davies, which I'm sure you're all aware of, Mrs. Fraser, Mr. Langme, James Caldwell, Michelle Heinenberg, Gillian Martin, and Sue Colbeck. So this is pretty much the face of the community house, the guys that put in all the hard work every month, attending our meetings and helping run this place, along with all our volunteers. And that is it. Do we have any questions?
You take record or keep records of your clientele, how many people come through the
Yes,
door?
we do. So on average we have on average about 90 to 100 people in the shop a day, and around 100 to 200 a month through the centre, plus phone calls and so on. But we do keep all those, everything gets recorded.
People here have things to donate, not saying they do, but if they have stuff, what sort of stuff do you mainly look for?
Sure. We take, obviously, lots of clothing. The biggest problem we have is that people don't actually, they donate stuff that they just want to get rid of, and it might not necessarily be something that's sellable. So we take clean items, obviously, but we take clothing, small furniture, small electrical items, and bric-a-brac. We do have a donation box at the side that people can pick it up, drop it off, but we try to encourage people to drop it off during business hours, simply because people rummage through it if they leave it out. We do courses, the most important thing that we do. We offer a huge range of courses, but it depends on our tutors, because everything is run by volunteers. Our most popular course is probably computing, and that'd be one-on-one computing. Ian was our tutor for over 10 years. You made it 10 years, didn't you? It's still our most popular thing that we've ever had, actually. We do mosaics, we do art and craft, guitar lessons, we have jam groups, we have women's groups, and just recently we've also started a mental health support group, which is incredible because that's also facilitated with Dr. Naomi Rutten. So her whole concept of this was due to mental health crisis that we're living in. People have to wait sometimes up 18 months to 2 years to get into see a specialist, and there's no gap. They don't know what to do in between. So she came up with this idea, well, let's start a support group, so while people are waiting for their appointments or are having a bad day or whatever, they can come in. So every Thursday it's just pretty much a drop-in where anyone can come in, and it's actually fascinating to hear them in there. Week before last we had 13 people, so just 13 people off the streets that are clearly struggling, dropped in, and we play Uno or have a coffee and chat. We just laugh. And I actually said to Naomi last week, I walked out feeling amazing, so surely everybody's got to walk out feeling amazing. And it's free, you know. Just the cost of going to a doctor is hard enough, but for these guys to just walk in off the streets and go somewhere that's going to support them with the help of a doctor there as well, I think it's something that really should be spoken and shared, because it's very, very popular.
What's the open mic? Is that still going?
Yeah, so we have a music tutor. He teaches guitar lessons, and he's been teaching people with no skill whatsoever, and they are now part of this jam group. So the guys that do the guitar lessons, they can join this jam group, and they are pretty awesome. Every Wednesday, and you can just drop in and listen to them, or you can come and join in. And they also go out and they perform for any groups. So they've been going to nursing homes, they go to Probus, they do whatever for free, just to spread the joy of music.
And the cafe's in the same place, isn't it?
Well, now we've incorporated the open mic on Mondays with the cafe.
Yeah.
So on Mondays it's more of a drop-in. So if someone just wants to get up and have a sing, or we've had people get up and say poetry, or they just get up and play their instruments. Some days it's not as involved as others, so they'll just sit around and all jam together. So it just kind of depends on who's there and what they want to do as to what that will look like.
And these are all on Facebook, aren't they?
Everything is on Facebook. Unfortunately, the joys of technology, we lost the access of our Facebook page. So we had over 2,500 followers, and we cannot access it. So we've actually had to start again. And unfortunately, we're only at about 400 at this stage. We're trying our hardest to get the word out there, but truth is people are still looking at our old page going, oh wow, they're lazy, they're not doing anything. But we are, it's just a different page. So everything is on Facebook. If you're a member, you'll get emails of our newsletters come out every quarter, and they will get emailed to all our members, along with any sales or any relevant information. So new courses that come up will get emailed out and so forth.
And the benefit of being a member is you get half price stuff too.
Yes, so we have half price sales. We've just finished. Tomorrow actually will be our last day. So it's $10 to become a member, and that's a financial year, and that will give you access to a lot of half price sales. So what we say to people is you actually save money by that shop by going over, pay you $10 and you get your shopping cheaper. So it's a win-win for everybody. There's normally around 4 to 5 half price sales a year. It depends. It depends on our stock as to what we have and what we can offer.
But even without the half price sales, other prices are pretty good.
Everyone that I speak to, well, and I've gone around to the local op shops. In fact, I was only talking to Di the other day, she did too, and it's quite interesting how dear some of the op shops can be. Our prices haven't changed. In the 7 years that I've been there, they're still the same. So on average, you're looking at about $4 for an item, whereas I know one that I went to recently, the cheapest top I could find that I liked was $10. So it depends what you're looking for. You might not find it, but you might.
I've got a sneaking suspicion there's a lady goes in there and buys a lot of stuff and then sells it on.
There's a lot. There's actually a lot, and it's funnily enough, I can actually see it. I'll see something for sale and go, I saw that today. I know where they bought that. We can't stop that, and ultimately, if someone wants to make that money, good for them. We've still got our money, so yeah, it does happen. Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll just got one last one. With the computing that you do the training, is that also looking at people maybe getting a better chance of getting jobs?
Yeah.
Or is it really more for just...
It can be for absolutely anything. So we had a young gentleman that used to come in and help get his lessons because he wanted to learn. I'm not sure if he was one of your students, Ian, or not. He was trying to get into the police force, and he kept failing the course, and he needed help to it was he believed, was it you that had him? And he believed it was his computer skills. Yeah. So he came in just to get specific help for that, and I think it was about 6 months later he phoned to let us know he got in.
Centrelink sent people in.
Centrelink, there's a lot of people that don't know how to use the Centrelink website, and I don't know why, but Centrelink seems to be pushing more and more people onto go to your app, go to your phone, go online, and I don't know where the one-on-one support is, but we get a lot of people come in and say, just help me out doing this, or filling out a form even. We had a gentleman that he had a letter that he wanted, a handwritten letter, he wanted to type it up to send it off, so one of our girls helped him type that up. So we do a lot of everything, really. The computing is literally, we have people come in that with a computer and don't even know how to turn it on and start from absolute scratch to just getting help to learn Excel or anything, or something specific.
And there's still a lot of people who don't know how to use a computer.
There are.
Yeah.
There is a woman recently that had no idea. She's been in this industry. I didn't ask her what industry it was, and she'd been in there forever, lost her job, and now she had to start applying for jobs, and she said, I can't even use a computer. I've never used a computer in my life. And I guess she would have been around my age. She went and bought a brand new computer and went, what do I do? But she phoned me yesterday to say, you're going to have to put my lessons on hold for 3 weeks because I've actually just got a job and they're training me on those days, but I told them I will not work on Tuesdays because I'll keep my lesson. So, yeah, it's very much tailored.
Do you still have an electrician who checks electrical lifts?
Who, sorry?
Electrical donations, tag and test.
Yes, the tag and tester, is that what you mean? Yes. He's currently unwell. There's a lot of people sick at the moment. So I spoke to him about last week, I think it was. He's still coming back. So unfortunately, we can't sell it unless it has got the tag and test on it. So until he comes back, I don't have somebody, but he still claims he's going to be back. Yes.
Say something? That we are self-funded. We're not, the council give us a donation. About 8 years ago they upped it from 5,000 to 15,000. But then when we did the rebuild, that cost us, the council loaned us 150,000 to do. It actually cost us about 230,000 to do it. But they loaned us 150,000 and $10,000 a year now out of our 15 pays off our loan. So we're back to the 5,000.
We only get 5,000. However, we're not paying off our loan.
No.
Essentially, I actually had a lot of angry community members come in and talk to me about it and say, oh, why aren't the council paying for this? This is a council-owned building. But essentially the council are. We're getting less money from the council each year, but because we have a new building, the maintenance upkeep isn't as much either.
We only have a land lease, not a building lease. So that's why we have to be responsible for the building.
Yeah.
But we are self-funded, and the op shop is what funds us. That's really, and the odd grant, but it's the op shop that funds us.
The odd grant is specifically for something. So if we find a project that we'd like to work on, we'll apply for grants and that will fund that project. But the day-to-day running of the centre is all self-funded through the op shop. So,
what about before the op shop was there? Because I remember a time where the op shop really wasn't there. How did it fund itself then?
when it originally started,
No, this probably would have been about 13.
the op shop was always there when they moved.
The op shop was in the front.
Okay, so maybe it was just very...
Where the admin centre is now, that was always the op shop when they first moved there, because they started with, in Reed Street, they actually started with a little bedroom that was quite small, but that was the op shop, and then when they moved there,
So there's always been an op
there was
shop.
always an op shop, and it's always been self-funded. Again, there's always been grants that come through, but it's typically just for projects. We did have a big grant, obviously, when we got Freeling. That was funded through the department. Sorry, the garden was grant though. Yeah. So predominantly, we are self-funded and self-managed. So a lot of people do ask, well, where does all the money go? Majority of the money goes straight back to admin. That's just the world we live in. We help though a lot of people. So if anyone was to come in and needed clothing or needed food or anything, we will help them. We'll never ever turn anybody away. So I'm quite often taking people out, getting them outfit or clothing, bric-a-brac. They might have had their house broken into. We have bags I've got copious amounts, if anyone come into my office, of bags made up with soaps and toilet papers and shampoo conditioners, towels and stuff like that. So no one anyone that came in that needed something, they wouldn't walk out empty-handed. We would definitely help. We have organisations that come, so the Aboriginal Health often bring their clients in, domestic violence often bring their clients in, and we're like, what do you need? And we'll help them every time. We don't advertise it, obviously, because then you're going to get inundated. We do have also, we try, COVID's changed it, but every year we also would host Christmas Day. And that would bring, oh my gosh, it was getting up to 100 people that would come in on Christmas Day because they'd have nowhere else to go. It was quite insane. And we'd all go and volunteer, and it was actually always the best days too. There was always a band that would volunteer, so we had our music and entertainment. However, COVID stopped that and we haven't done that, but I think this year, let's just see how this variant treats us, but we're hoping this year we might be back, but yeah, we'll kind of have to just ride that out. So we do help. We do also try to help out UCare where we can, and often take down food donations, non-perishable goods. We'll run little drives and help other organisations as well. Yeah. That's what we do. No more questions? Yes?
Allowing, like my wife helps with the quilting, and they help with a number of organisations, but give quilts to people who've lost babies, to whatever, people out of work. Do you belong to like a networking Gawler where you sort of all contribute together, or is it very independent? So if I was homeless or whatever, do I have to go to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places? Or if I came to you, would you have a network to say we can provide this, but you have to go and see these other people?
Absolutely.
For other things?
There is a community services forum that meets every month in Gawler, and it's really, really good because all the local organisations will go to that, and we liaise with one another, and we often talk about what is happening out in the streets and what is going on. We talk about what each service offers, so we were always up to date with who does what. But yeah, we're pretty switched on as to where to send people to. I'm pretty strict with the girls in admin that we're a no wrong door policy, so it doesn't matter what anyone comes in for, they're not allowed to leave without an answer. So they need to know exactly where to go and what's going to help them, because we don't know how much it's taken for them to just get through the door and ask for that help. And rather than turn around and go, sorry, we don't do that, see you later, you've just crushed them. So we do know all the services are available. It's actually one of the reasons why we've never really introduced pantry items or emergency relief or meals or anything like that, because there are a few other 3 or 4 other agencies within the Gawler that do offer that service. So we try to concentrate more on the courses and op shop and servicing that side of things.
Makes you feel a lot better.
We'll help.
It's probably Ian's fault anyway. Okay, no, really enjoyed this, and I'll ask Val, please, to do a vote of thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sharyn, for a very informative talk. And I think you shone when you didn't look at your slides and you looked at us, because the information you gave in that last little bit was excellent. It really was. My husband and I haven't lived in Gawler that long, but we've been involved in Gawler before. But listening to you tonight has made me realise Gawler is a wonderful community place. It really is. And you're obviously an integral part of that. And the world we live in now, you're going to be very, very much needed. And it's wonderful to know what you run and what you offer. Which, as I say, makes Gawler a lovely place to live, be it the top end or not. It's a lovely community. So thank you and your team for the work you do, and please continue it, because it's going to be very much needed. So on behalf of the Gawler History Group, I'd like to thank you sincerely, and I'm sure the group would too. And then, could we have a hand for Sharyn, please? That's been great. So thank you, dear. we have a little something for you to say thank you properly. Yeah, I'll let you use it all up. Thank you. Oh, rubbish. But you may, I know. So, thank you again, Sharon, that's lovely.
Thank you.